Hello and welcome to the explainer video for block 4 of Your Strongest Year. This is going to be another volume block following up from the intensification block, which is block number 3. So in this block, we're going to get an opportunity to focus more on skill acquisition. So a chance to build up some more momentum with our form and a chance to accrue some work. So by accruing work, we can work on aspects such as hypertrophy, specific fitness, and we're going to build the base because we're going to go into another intensification block, which is going to be block 5. So what we're going to do in this video, we're just going to talk about the growth structure, so the actual top-down structure, the thought behind the block, the variation in the cycle itself, and then we will look at the microcycle, so how the week is split up. We'll talk around some points around what you might want to do, how you might want to set it up, some commonly asked questions with this kind of setup, and then we'll probably conclude the video there. We'll look at some of the more granular progressions as well, so you'll see session to session kind of what the goal is and what you should be looking to get out of that particular session. So if we look at the table of total lifts here, so we'll see we're using 340 total lifts, so not a ridiculously high volume, but fairly high. The volume is the kind of the main variation in this block. The relative intensity starts pretty light, picks up a fair bit into week 2. Week 3 remains relatively similar with a slight drop in average intensity, and then in week 4 there's another appreciable gain. So we're up in 6% in the average intensity, dropping 1% in week 3, week 4 another increase of 6% on average. The total lifts starting off 340, as we mentioned before. That's probably a moderately high volume as total number of lifts go, and then we have moderate volume, not really moderately high, another moderate volume, and then like a kind of lower end volume. So week 4 is going to represent a bit of a deload in terms of volume, and that's going to help us to prepare for the intensification block, which is coming up next. The kind of main loading aspect is happening from week 1 to 3 with a good volume dose to kind of start the program off. If we look at that on the chart, so you'll see the average intensity doesn't really change that markedly. There's a good old change in the volume, however, with week 1. The block is what you would call front loaded with the volume. Then we get a bit of a decrease here, bit of a bump, and then a bit of a decrease. So most of the work's happening in the first 3 weeks of the program. So we're going to get most of our change, most of our fitness game in the first 3 weeks, and then we're going to pull back slightly week 4 to allow a bit of a deload to prepare for the next block. So the actual microcycle, so we're frequency of 4, so 4 total body sessions in the week. You can split this up how you want. Typically, we go for Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday as a split. Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday is another viable split. Or Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. Basically, we're wanting 3 rest days, and we want to intersperse them as you see fit. Tuesday probably represents the lowest amount of loading for the lower body in the program, with only one kind of big compound lift being deadlift and 2 upper body lifts. So you can utilize that to go back to back Monday, Tuesday, with a Wednesday off, and then Thursday on, Friday off, Saturday on, Sunday off. Some people like to take Saturday off, like take the whole weekend off the training, like to train during the week. Again, it just kind of depends on how you want to split it. The actual days themselves, so session 1's a squat focused workout. So we have squat, bench press, pause squat, and then we have an upper body superset. So all upper body, we have a shoulder based assistance and just a push pull assistance for more volume. So the way this is set out, and this is common through the whole block, you have lower body, upper body, lower body. Now people will ask if they can just do the squats and then go straight into the pause squat. So the reason it's set up like this is to give you a break between performance squat and pause squat, so you can actually do better in your pause squat. For some people, the convenience of just going from one to the other outweighs the performance benefit they would get from getting the rest of doing the upper body work. So again, it depends on your training situation. If you have a home garage gym, you own your own gym, then you might want to look at the performance side of it. Or if you're in the gym for a while, you might want to look at the performance side of it. But then it depends. It's kind of your judgment call. You will get a better workout and you will get better performance longitudinally by taking the break, because you'll be able to perform the pause squats at a better kind of clip. So that's the judge for you. So it's the session 2 follows a very similar setup. So you have your feet up bench press to start. Then we have deadlift, close grip bench press. We have a core superset. And then just some like arm space stuff, so some assistance based around biceps and triceps. So again, same rationale, upper body focused workout, bench press focused workout. You will get a better average effort over the workout if you perform your beat up volume first, then perform the deadlift, and then go to the close grip. You'll average a better intensity overall working sets, and that will accrue to a better outcome. So again, for some people though, if they're training in a busy gym, they might want to just go do their 8 working sets of bench press. So just do their feet up bench press, move straight to close grip bench press, and then move on to deadlift, because it's more convenient for them. So again, it's your own judgment call, and that's the last I'll say about it. Session 3, so it's basically the same session as session 1, because this is just a volume block, so it's more just about the total accumulation of work. We don't have to be too fancy with how things are set up. We've just flipped it around, so the pause squats first, so you can actually use this as a focus to do a heavier pause squat workout. And then the squats are after. Bench press is sandwiched in between, and then just another upper body superset, followed with another kind of shoulder focused superset. And then session 4, so this is on its head. So this is a deadlift focused workout. So we're doing touch and go deadlifts, 3 sets of 10 on that. So again, an assistance exercise, close grip bench press, and then deadlift. So the same deadlift workout as before, slightly less in terms of intensity. So 60% RM on this, whereas we're doing 65% RM. And for the deadlift, we tend to just kind of lower the work in reps and up the sets, just to try and keep the quality high. So when you're doing 8 sets of 4 on the deadlift, you could just keep your rest times that little bit low, so like 2 to 3 minutes, as opposed to like 3 to 4 minutes, just so you can keep the overall time commitment down. And it should be fairly light. 4 reps at 60% is pretty easy, but when you do 8 sets and 16 working sets over the week, it will accrue. So you will fatigue when you do it. And then some basic core work, and then some more kind of arm-based assistance. So that's the setup of the week. Fairly standard for this kind of block. Certainly with a lot of our kind of volume and intensity blocks that we've put out in the past, this is relatively standard for kind of the way we work. So the actual sets and reps, we spoke about it around the deadlift. We're doing just flat sets week 1. Week 2, we're using more of a pyramid scheme. So we're getting up to 80% for the lower body lifts, getting up to 85% for the upper body lifts. So a bit more of an intensification, chance to put a bit more weight on the bar. There's no evidence here to increase the working load, because we are looking more just total volume. We're looking for accumulation over this block. So there's nothing to say if you're feeling really good during your squat workout and you get up to your 4s, first set of 4 at 88% feels too light, you can pump it up. It's a judgment call for you, but it's not something we're going to actively try and push from a planning standpoint. But there's nothing wrong with that. The bench works, moving on to 4s with the pyramids here. So the pyramids, 2 sets of 6 is 60%, 2 sets of 5 is 70%, 2 sets of 4 at 88%, and that's going to be common for the lower body. Upper body is the same. We tend to program bench press higher, so 5% higher. So the average working intensities we've pretty much found for deadlift tend to be 5% lower than squat, and bench press tends to be 5% higher. So we just find working with people that's a better kind of set point, a better average point when it comes to this kind of programming. The bench involves less muscle mass. It tends to recover a bit faster, so we tend to use higher volumes, higher frequencies, and higher intensities. With the squat, it's kind of in between, and then the deadlift is probably the least recoverable of the three lifts. So we tend to put in less variation, less volume, and well, the less variation is maybe not correct, but we tend to put in less variations, so less actual sets, less working sets, and intensity is a bit less for deadlift. And there's crosstalk between squat and deadlift, so you can find gains in squat can often transfer into deadlift as long as you're doing deadlift training. So week 2, just pyramid sets, nothing too crazy, nothing too complicated. Week 3, more flat loading. So we move from 6 sets to 6, which is a pretty reasonably hefty volume dose, onto 6x5. So keeping the sets the same, just dropping a working rep, and we've kept that theme for the assistance work as well. So you can see here, pause squat 4 sets of 4, squat 6 sets of 6. We're just doing pretty much the same scheme, but we are just going to pump the working weight 5%, take the working reps down 1 rep per set, and that's just another flat loaded volume week. So we're ensuring that we get the work we need in, and we can focus a bit more on execution with the weight staying stable. So we remove one of the variables from the program, which is the increase in weight. So that kind of allows us to focus on how the reps are actually done a bit more, because we know we're going to do 6 sets of 5 at this weight. I can then use those 6 sets to kind of juxtapose how they went. So set 1 might go pretty good. Set 2, maybe I can try do this better, do that better. And then set 3, you can basically review your execution between each set. You know the weight isn't changing, so it takes away a lot of the psychology from it. So it allows us to get some pretty good skill work in with what is like a reasonably easy weight, but it's still heavy enough that with enough work, enough fatigue, we're going to accumulate enough to utilize later down the line. In block 5, we can utilize the volume we're putting in, the fitness we're gaining from this block to then increase the intensity to push our max strength. And then week 4 is pretty much week 2 again with higher intensities. So going up to 90% for 2s on the bench. So for the bench press, 2x4 70%, 2x3 at 80%, 2x2 at 90%. So getting up reasonably heavy. On the lower bodies, moving up to 2s at 85%. So reasonably heavy, nothing like crazy heavy, but for 2x2 after pyramids, they'll make reasonably tough work. So it'll simulate heavier lifts fairly well. So just another pyramid, just with a higher average intensity and a lower total number of lifts. So if we look at the squat, for instance, you can kind of see in a really small microcosm how kind of the progression is working. So we're looking at 36 total reps at an average intensity of 70%. So flat loaded 70%. Then we're going to do 30 reps, so 6 less total reps, taking away reps from sets, average intensity of 70. But how that average intensity is presented is over a pyramid. So we're actually going up to 80%. So we're getting into more meaningful weights on week 2. And there's the option there, if you're feeling good, to push it a bit more, although we aren't making that an aspect of the program. That's if you want to make a modification, you can. And it's something that when I've done this kind of training in the past, I've utilized to fairly decent effect. Week 3, 6x5, like we said, so 30 total volume. So this is where the change in volume is not really that big between week 2 and 3. Actually, no, that's incorrect, isn't it? Still not that much. The relative intensity spiked up, so we're doing flat sets, 30 reps to 75%. And then the final one, So the relative intensity there is the same, 75%, but again, it's produced differently. We're doing it with pyramids. So again, get up to 2x2 at 85%. So get up to reasonably heavyish weights. So that's pretty much the block. As regards the variations, there's nothing really too much to talk about. It's all pretty standard stuff. There is room here to kind of plug and play with it. If you find, for instance, maybe high bar squats, safety bar squats, tempo squats, pause squats, you could basically just plug them in to the assistance parts of it. And also, if you want, as your main variation, you could potentially utilize like an RDL for the deadlift, or you could use a high bar squat for the squat if you want to kind of decrease the specificity a little bit, up the variation, and make it more kind of like a general block. If you maybe find that the low bar potentially hurts your elbows for some reason, or you find that dead stop deadlifts, you can maybe do them with like intention for like 4 to 6 weeks. You can change those aspects of the program to try and make it work for you a little bit more. Okay, so that's going to conclude this video guide to block 4. I hope you have a good training block, and I'll check you in a video for block 5.